Let's just be honest for a second. There is a lot of anxiety out there about AI. You hear it everywhere. Job losses, massive disruption, a future that feels like it's slipping out of our control. But today, we're going to look at this from a totally different angle. One that reframes this whole thing not as a threat, but as what might just be the single greatest promotion in human history. Let's dive in.
And to get there, we have to start with the stark reality of it all. This quote from physicist Alexander Wisner-Gross, it doesn't pull any punches, right? It perfectly captures that gut feeling that the very foundation of our modern economy, the value of just processing information, is being completely and totally upended.
So that's really the big question we're tackling. Are we being made obsolete by the very things we created, or is all this disruption actually forcing us into a more meaningful, more human role? The sources we're digging into for this explainer, they make a powerful case for the second one.
Okay, so to really get why this feels so different from, the invention of the printing press or the steam engine, we have to talk about speed, the sheer unbelievable speed and scale of what's happening. Experts aren't calling it a wave of change, they're calling it a supersonic tsunami.
And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi prediction anymore. The consensus is building that this period, right around 2026, is the moment the water in the pot really starts to boil over. The theoretical disruption we've all been talking about, it's becoming a practical, everyday reality for businesses and for you and me.
Now, this slide right here really puts that speed into perspective. Think about it. The agricultural revolution unfolded over millennia. The Industrial Revolution, it took a few generations, giving society some time to adjust. But the AI revolution, we are jamming a century's worth of change into a single decade. Our systems, our economies, our brains, they just aren't built to adapt that fast. And that incredible speed leads to something way bigger than just losing some jobs and gaining others. It's not just about replacing tasks. We're talking about the very idea of what a job is, being fundamentally dismantled.
They're calling this the Great Unbundling. See, for centuries, a job was this neat package that bundled a few key things together. AI is now tearing that package open. It's automating the mechanical parts, the how, the routine stuff that gives us an income and a daily structure. And what's left for us? All the deeply human stuff, the why.
And this unbundling, well, it leads to a really strange and uncomfortable paradox. It's a question people like Elon Musk have been asking for a while. A world of total abundance, where AI can provide everything we need. That sounds like paradise, doesn't it? But what actually happens to us when the struggle is gone?
This is the huge risk of the abundance trap. Some people call it the Wall-E future, and it's a perfect image. Remember that movie? Humanity had everything handed to them by machines, and they just became these passive, disengaged blobs floating around in chairs. Without a challenge, we risk losing our very identity.
And here's the crucial point. We humans, we're literally wired for growth. As Tony Robbins puts it, we need to feel like we're making progress. If you take away the need to strive for something, you don't get fulfillment. You get this profound, aching sense of emptiness. The old 9-to-5, for all its flaws, was a forced challenge. Now we have to find our own.
But this crisis, this exact crisis of meaning, is the spark for the most important idea we're going to talk about today. This isn't a demotion for humanity. No way. It is, in fact, the great promotion.
This is it. This is the core idea. AI is taking over the repetitive, computational work we used to do when we were just cogs in a machine. That frees us up, or actually, it promotes us to a higher-level role, a role that machines simply cannot fill.
So what does this new job description actually look like? Well, the metaphor that keeps coming up in our sources is a really powerful one. We are moving from being cogs to being gardeners. And this comparison just lays it all out so brilliantly. As a cog, your job was to process, to follow orders, to execute the how. But a gardener doesn't assemble a rose petal by petal. A gardener chooses, they cultivate, they decide what's beautiful and what's worth growing, the why, and then they create the perfect conditions for it to flourish.
This is the new division of labor, plain and simple. AI has basically infinite speed, but it has no taste, it has no values, it has zero intent of its own. That's our job now. Our primary job is to provide the purpose, to be the creative directors that actually guide this incredibly powerful tool.
Now, this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? Well, luckily for us, a few very sharp thinkers saw this coming years ago and have been quietly building a practical playbook for this new world.
So let's talk about the founders of the Wisdom's Difference Makers project, Lee Harrison, Trevor Nail, and Ivan Anderson. What makes their work so vital right now is that while everyone else was obsessing over the technology, they were focused on the human side of the equation. They didn't just predict the tech, they predicted the massive identity crisis that would come right along with it.
And their insight, it comes from a really unique place. It's not because they're 22-year-old coders from Silicon Valley. It's from over 150 years of combined real-world experience. These guys have lived through huge technological and cultural shifts before. They understand human adaptation because they've actually seen it play out time and time again.
So their playbook makes that whole Gardner idea really practical. Just look at this table. It's a crystal clear division of labor. Humans are in charge of what matters, the meaning, the values, the strategy, the why. AI is the tool that handles the execution, the research, the scaling, the how. So an AI can spit out 10 marketing plans in a second. The human gardener is the one who decides which of those 10 actually has soul. You stop trying to outcompute the machine, and you start trying to outhuman it.
And this is why their perspective is so important right now. They figured out early on that when AI fails, it's almost never a technical problem. It's a human adaptation problem. Their entire model is built around making people better, not just making processes faster.
So as AI handles all the technical stuff, our value shifts to these deeply human skills. Trust. That becomes the most valuable currency in a world swimming with deepfakes. Human agency, our ability to choose, to have a point of view, that becomes our main job. And local wisdom, understanding the unique vibe of a specific community, becomes priceless when generic AI solutions just won't cut it. These arts of being human, they stop being soft skills and start being the essential infrastructure of the future.
So, to bring this all home, this is the real opportunity here. AI isn't the enemy of our fulfillment, it's actually the thing that clears the stage. By taking over all the boring, repetitive work we had to do, it gets rid of all the excuses. It forces us, maybe for the first time, to seriously ask ourselves what truly matters.
And that leaves us with one last, very personal question. The promotion has already happened. The old job of being a cog, it's over. You now have the most powerful creative tools in human history sitting right at your fingertips. You are the gardener. The only question left is, what on earth are you going to grow?